So a couple of days ago, I posted on my community tab, what is the issue that you guys are struggling with that you would like some help on or you guys need some advice on? And I would say the number one answer that I saw the most on there was information overload. And this was quite interesting because it's not really something I thought about, but it definitely is something that I've struggled with in the past and something that I had to learn and go through myself. And really, information overload is kind of just like a byproduct of self-improvement because you're kind of watching, reading, and kind of absorbing all this information so quickly and at once that it could be a lot for you to process, especially for somebody that hasn't really been introduced to it prior and this is kind of like their first go around with self-improvement. It could be a lot of stuff to take in all at once. So believe me, I've been there and I completely understand. I'm right there with you. The best way for me to describe it is kind of like mental masturbation, where you're really kind of just absorbing all this information, but you don't really have a sense of direction of where you're going or what you're going to do with all this information. It really doesn't give you a true benefit except stimulating your brain, you know what I mean? And trust me, I know it can be difficult because even naturally as humans, we're inclined to seek out more and more information, gain more knowledge, things that'll make us smarter, wiser. So believe me, I know how it feels like to have all this information bombarded at you, not even being able to grasp all of it and still seeking out more information. But I do have a couple of tips for you guys that you can implement to slowly, calm it down, bring it down a notch, and really absorb all the information pretty effectively and not have this sort of sense of overwhelmment with all the things that you're trying to learn. The first tip I have for you guys for dealing with information overload is to focus on one topic at a time. Now, I know you guys are probably learning a lot right now, right? Maybe a lot about working out, a lot about discipline, motivation, entrepreneurship. There are so many aspects to self-improvement, self-help. This whole community is just like a big bubble that you guys can be absorbing so much information at once, and I know it can be overwhelming. But one of the biggest tips is to laser in and focus on one aspect of it at a time. So pick one thing that you really, really want to hone in on. For example, let's just say working out, right? Let's say you really want to up your fitness, okay? Really zone in on that one thing. Only really focus on working out. What are the things that you need to know for that? What are the most optimal ways? Really make it a habitual thing and become comfortable with it before you even think about moving on to anything else. I know it can be a little bit disheartening to only focus on one thing when so many things in your life it feels like are going wrong, but really pick that one thing that is mostly bothering you the most, right? Whether it be relationships, whether it be school, whether it be your career, whether it be your fitness. Pick that one thing that's truly bothering you more than anything and zone in and focus on that. Once you've kind of adapted to it, once you've kind of got a better grasp of it, have become more comfortable, and it sort of starts to become habitual in the sense of you don't really need to use a lot of, intentional mental strength for it, then you can move on to the next thing. The second tip I will give you guys for information overload is to be resourceful. What I mean by being resourceful is essentially to weed out all the unnecessary information when it comes to that topic. For example, let's say you're trying to get into reading, right? It's going to be a lot for you to just sit down and start reading a bunch of like 300, 400, 500 page books, especially if it's something that you've never done before, okay? So the first thing I advise you to do is like check a summary. Check a summary of the book before you even begin to read it. Read a summary, see if this is even something you like to read. I actually have, this is a great segue, by the way, so shout out to me, but I have an affiliate link for short form if reading is something you need to get into, and it's a perfect way for you to kind of get a grasp of what each book you want is on. They have great book summaries, great resources for getting into the habit of reading, and you can use them to kind of see if you really want to purchase the full book. Maybe you just want to read the book summary. Nonetheless, that was just a quick little plug from your boy, but that is something you want to do, is eliminate any sort of unnecessary information. Skip redundancies if you possibly can. If it's something that you already know, right? If it's something you already know, only take a few minutes to glance over it and remind yourself of certain information. That's why I love having this notebook and taking notes, right? Because if I ever need to remember something, key points, I kind of have them all in here. So if I really need to look at something, I'll just go over to one of these pages wherever I have the notes on and quickly gloss over the key points to remember the fact or tidbit or topic or tip for myself, whatever it is, without having to go through and read the entire book where I got it from or watch the entire video where I got it from. So taking notes is a huge plus because you can literally have just one notebook of helpful information for everything in your life. I guarantee you this thing isn't even full. I still got like a couple pages in the back here, but this is extremely helpful when I need to remember certain information or call back to certain points that I remember from books or videos, and I don't want to go back through, read the whole book to find it, watch the whole video to find it. Perfectly, everything's in here, and this will help a lot. My third tip for dealing with information overload is to take an internet break. Now, this is probably going to be the most helpful tip for all you guys, because really the source of all this information overload is stemming from the internet, right? Where are you getting all this information from? Probably the internet, right? If you're not going on the internet a lot, if you're not on your phone a lot, on the computer a lot, you're probably not saying that you're getting information overload. But with the way the internet works, we're constantly being bombarded with different stimulus, different information 24/7. You can literally look up whatever you want at the click of a button about any topic, any subject, just like that. And this is where this also kind of comes into play, where you can go on the internet, write down all the important information you need. Maybe do a day or 2 days or however many days you need of research on the certain topic that you need, the one topic that you're going to focus on, going back to the first point. Write it all down. Write the most important keynotes down in your journal, whatever it is, whatever you need to help you drill that concept in your head, form a specific habit that you want to learn, anything like that. And then basically only read from your notebook, right? Cut down or cut out the internet completely, and everything that you need to form that habit and kind of create, make it a part of yourself, only read from your notes section. That way you're not constantly being bombarded with information all the time. You're not on the internet. You're not around constant stimulus. You're not being distracted. Everything you need is going to be in here. And yes, you're going to have to go on the internet and sift through a ton of information for a day or two. But once you write it down in here, just stop using your phone, get off of it. All the stuff you're going to need is going to be in your notes. You can refer back to it whenever you need. You don't have to pull out your phone. Just pull out your notebook, and there you go. It's a great way to focus on one habit and kind of avoid the mental masturbation of information overload. And the last tactic number 4, and this is not really a tactic, but it's the harsh truth that you might need to hear. The reason you're being bombarded with information, the reason you have information overload, it might be the harsh truth, but the truth you need to hear is because you're actually not doing anything. Most likely, if you're having information overload and you're getting all this information that you don't know what to do with it, and you're not sure how to proceed, that probably means you haven't taken action. If you've taken action, there's going to be a lot of things that you can eliminate or keep from all this information that you're getting, right? Once you actually go out and take action, and when you're seeing this, I don't know if it will be the last video or 2 videos ago, but I have a video on the most effective way to learn, which I'll also link in the description down below. And it essentially talks about, like, it's not enough to know certain things. You actually have to go out and experience them and practice them. And if you're struggling with information overload, you're probably not practicing enough of these things. If you go out and experience and practice these things, you should be getting feedback from the results that are happening, right? If you want to practice your social skills and you're going out and trying all these things that you're hearing about, you should kind of start to figure out what's working, like how you should act, how to be in situations. You become more comfortable. It starts becoming less of overwhelming information in your head, because you kind of just see what really works, what doesn't work, and you don't start thinking about the information. You just start doing it and start adapting to it. So if you're struggling with information overload, you're probably not doing enough work, and you need to put in more work. And there are 3 questions that can help you answer if you are practicing enough or not practicing enough, and if the information that you have is actually being used properly. So the first question you need to ask yourself is, what are you consuming? Pretty straight up, pretty basic. Just ask yourself, what information are you consuming? Like, what tips are you consuming? What good habits are you consuming? What type of stuff are you reading? What type of stuff are you watching? What information is it providing you? Pretty straight up. Just write in your notes exactly what it is that you're consuming. The second one, and this is by far the most important one, you have to ask yourself this. You absolutely have to. Is, how has this information helped you? This is going to basically be the main question you ask yourself if you want to figure out, are you putting this information into practice enough, and is it the reason that you're getting this information overload? If this information is not helping you in any way, that is a pretty good sign that you're not using it enough or not using it correctly. Now granted, you might have the wrong information, but if you went out and practiced it and tried it, you would find out that it was the wrong information based on your results. So if you're not sure what to follow, which path to take, maybe you got 2 contradicting viewpoints, that perfectly sums up and means that you just haven't been out there actually putting these things into action. And the third question you want to ask for this fourth key point is, will I use what I've learned? And if so, how? Now, this third question is kind of a self-reflection after the fact. Ideally, you want to be actually implementing the information you're learning before you ask yourself, will I use what I've learned? But this kind of goes back to one of my other points in the list is, if you're not going to use it at all, and if you can't find a way how to use it, then you got to weed it out. It's useless information. If it's not something you can apply to your life and something that can change your life for the better, or put you in a better headspace, change your mentality, see the way you view the world, things like that, then it's useless information, right? You got to get rid of it. Those are kind of the 4 main tips I have for you guys for information overload. Those are the things that have helped me. I think the main ones I would say is ask yourself those 3 questions and really focus on one thing at a time. Kind of forget about the other stuff. You will have more than enough time to focus on everything else. Trust me. Once you kind of start to build a habit of one of these things, you slowly start to bring in the next one and bring in the next one, right? Let's say working out, right? You start to become comfortable with working out. It becomes a habit. It becomes second nature to you. Boom. Now you don't really need to worry about that. It's kind of like automated in your head. It's like, I'm going to the gym regardless. I know what exercise I'm doing regardless. I know what food I'm eating, on a consistent basis. I don't really have to worry about that. Then boom, you bring in reading or meditation or whatever other habit that you want to implement, right? And then once that becomes second nature, then you implement something else. And then you kind of sort of build this like potion or gumbo, I don't even know what to call it, concoction of these good habits in your life. And they all become kind of like second nature to you, right? They become automated because you've been doing them so long and because you've kind of adapted to them and become comfortable with them. It's not going to be information overload because it's just going to be a part of you, right? Think about things like, let's say you're used to playing a certain video game all the time that you know everything about, right? You don't have to go out and do research for this video game. You already know everything about it. Like, where the enemies are going to be, the best angles, the best weapons, like the best perks, the best power-ups. All this stuff probably off the rip. You don't have to do any research for it, and it's no information overload. It's already part of your memory. So instead of using that on useless things like, video game strategies or something like that, use it on real-life stuff. You could do the same thing with it, right? Focus on one thing, adapt it, make it a part of your memory, make it habitual, and then move on to the next thing, and you'll never be overloaded with information. It's okay to focus on one thing at a time. Trust me. If you go hard at the gym for a month straight, I promise you'll get to the point after a month or so where you're comfortable at it enough to not be overwhelmed with information you're reading. Sure, you want to get new information and test it out and things like that, but you're not going to be overloaded with it, right? So I'll recommend you guys follow those steps. Ask yourself those 3 questions at the end as well, and I think it'll help you guys out tremendously. Let me know what you think. Any other problems you guys may be having, may be struggling with that you may need some advice on, let me know in the comment section down below. I'll be glad to help y'all. Follow the Discord, follow the IG, sign up to short form, click on my other videos. I'm just hitting the self plug here at the end. I never do this. So hit the subscribe, hit the bell notification, hit all the links in the description, hit all of them for your boy. Anyway, take care of yourselves, take care of your mental health. I love every single one of y'all, and I'll see you on the next video. Bow!